Welcome to your doom.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
You guys are really getting like these
earworms.
Yes,
in you?
earworms.
She's like, I don't know why I was gone so long.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, oh, I'm leaving. Renee, who are we talking about today?
Belle Boyd.
Belle
or Isabel
Boyd.
Boyd, better known as Belle Boyd.
Yeah.
Oh, who was that?
Hey,
She is a chick,
Ah.
ooh.
but she's a spy,
Oh.
Ooh.
but she's Confederate.
Oh.
I know exactly. I think that's
It's like a-
exactly
yeah,
it.
But she's a spy, so.
Okay.
What, like a Confederate? I'm sure we'll get into it. Confederate spy?
Confederate spy.
Like for the Confederate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, for the Confederacy.
We're going to be, I hope you're going to be breaking out a lot of your Southern accents here.
I know. I was thinking, I'm like, I hope you guys have Southern accent because I think
I have
mine-
foghorn leghorn if you need it.
I think Foghorn Leghorn would work perfectly
I say.
because it's West Virginia.
Well, this
Oh.
is,
Okay.
Get your West Virginia accent out.
I don't know if I could tell the difference. But anyway, this is episode 137 of the Non-Essentials podcast. We're doing a coffee episode.
This is coffee episode.
So there we go. This is coffee fueled. So there we go. So we're going to tee right off with this episode is sponsored by Dead City Coffee, heavy
City.
metal roasters. Yeah. Roaster born in hell, raised in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You can find Dead City Roasters at deadcitycoffee.com, Instagram at Dead City Coffee, or on Facebook at Dead City Coffee. So thank you very much, Rocky. I appreciate the coffee, and I think we're a little spun out right now.
Yeah.
You know,
My-
I think that this coffee, though, I'm very picky about coffee, but this one's like real smooth. You
I do
know?
like it.
Yeah. Kind of smooth as my Southern accent.
I guess sometimes people are like, yeah, Jake drinks too much and ruins it. Like, I can go the other way. That I can drink too much coffee and ruin it too.
So, Jake will turn into cornholio. So with that being said, my name is Adam.
I'm Jake Cornholio Bussy. That'll
Jake
work for me.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Jake Foghorn Leghorn.
I say, oh, we'll get into
I was
it.
gonna
It's
be-
got to be natural. You
I was
can't
going to be
force-
Colonel Lingus.
Either way, it.
That's actually Tony gave it up. My name is Adam Colonel Lingus Riley.
I'm
Southern,
Rene.
Southern Belle Boyd.
Yeah, Southern Belle Boyd.
All right.
Sort of. I'm in Wisconsin.
Okay.
It'll become relevant later. Okay, so this is about a woman who was born into privilege in the, well, I should say the Bellum South, became a woman who used her allure and magnetism to become an unforeseen Confederate spy. She was also known as the Cleopatra of succession, if that doesn't give you a clue. And she would go on to use her rebellious nature and her place as a respectable woman to lure.
There's a lot of air quotes.
Yeah,
you're doing
air
here.
quotes. So many air quotes.
I do have like a pun kind of real question. Is this where the term Southern Belle comes from or anything like
No.
that?
No. Belle just
No.
means beauty.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah,
sure.
so
she's a Southern Belle, but
Yeah, there's like if right now there's probably like a billion bells down there right now.
Yeah.
It's a
Hell's
very
bells.
southern, southern name. But she would lure unsuspecting men into her webs. Basically, tale as old as time, the Achilles heel of these dudes.
yeah, but I will say, like, she had an ability. I don't want to do spoiler alert, but she was like turning. She was able to like turn Union soldiers into
Yes.
Confederate
it's a
soldiers.
hell of a honeypot.
Yeah, hell yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Don't
So
worry.
she's like, like Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah.
She's like Rosie the racist. You know?
Oh, all right.
No.
I like to think after coitus is like, you made a lot of good points.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. After Colonel Lingus comes and
Yeah.
visits.
It's more like Samson and Delilah. Like, I used to be strong, but
Yeah.
now I'm
Okay.
nothing.
All right.
Okay, so she was born to her daddy, who was a tobacco farmer / shopkeeper, and her mother Mary, or mama, I guess, in the Shenandoah Valley in present-day Martinsburg, West Virginia. Back then, it was just Virginia.
okay.
Martinsburg is like really close to Harper's Ferry, which was a real hot spot at this time with
Sure.
the tensions coming up into the Civil War.
Let's say, so what year? 1860s?
She was born in like the 1840s, so
Okay.
just any time before the war. Like as we get closer to the war, the tensions are higher. People are less likely to be kind to one another.
Sure. Okay.
So, okay. And it was a border state, and like, you know, we live on a border states suck because it's like you can't be friends with anyone. But anyways, when she was
Flatlanders. Like,
yeah. Those people. Growing up, she was known to have a quick wit. She was very rebellious. She never fell in line, didn't listen to mommy or daddy. She was known as a crack shot because she was trained by her father, and a skilled horsewoman. And a lot of girls, women, whatever, back then, they weren't doing a lot of horse riding.
Sure.
Well, and if they were, it was like kind of like the legs off to the side, you know, like
Yeah.
Like the English side saddle.
like, just kind of like
dainty.
versus like she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
It's kind of like who's Calamity Jane.
Yeah,
That's
Calamity
what I'm picturing.
Jane.
Just
Yeah,
like
it's like that.
capable woman. And I drove through West Virginia and horrible countryside. Like I couldn't imagine just travel wise. I mean, like whoever called those hills is wrong. Those are mountains.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was like Charleston was just like a incredible, like just a city in the bottom of mountainous bowl surrounded by. So I imagine this tough country.
It is tough country, and there's not a lot of resources there either, unless you have slaves, which they did.
They did. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when she was growing up, you know, as I said, she was rebellious, and like a big Southern thing to have is like a coming out ball, like when
Sure.
you're coming out on the dating scene, basically.
They do it now, but
they
it's
just
different.
drop.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
drop nowadays.
Yeah.
And you like would have to be a certain age to go to the coming out parties.
Yeah. Here they get wild.
Yeah. And so her parents said no, and so she just
They said she wasn't old enough to
Yeah,
go to this
wasn't old
particular
enough.
one.
Okay.
so she took her horse Fleeter, and then she rode her horse right on into the house. Like
She
a
sounds
grand
too
entrance.
young.
Yeah,
It sounds like a very childish response.
I know. It's like, thank you for proving my point, right?
Yeah. She's just horsing around.
Yeah, she was just horsing around. And then she had a lot of self-confidence. Like, she really thought that she was very attractive and smart looking. And so if there was social media back then, she'd probably have like a billion selfies posted of herself every day.
Sure.
So it's kind of,
Yeah, we all know that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just to
okay.
describe that. So in a show of rebellion, she taught her like a Mamie.
Sure.
I don't know how to say it like politically.
I think the
correct
best
or
way you could say
whatever.
is just it was an enslaved person that she befriended and taught her
Right,
like
who was
how to
like
read and write.
yeah, and it was like the woman that basically took care of her, like raised her.
Right.
And her name was Eliza, and she taught her to read and write, which was illegal back then to teach a slave to do that because you don't want them to, you know, be smart.
Right.
Or at least be able to communicate with each other.
yeah.
You know, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously do the right thing.
So when it came to the issue of slavery, she said, slavery, like all imperfect forms of society, will have its day, but the time for its final extinction of the Confederate States of America has not arrived. And I just figured that means like it should happen, but I don't want it to happen right now because I still want slaves.
Yeah,
I
it's
just wanna
difficult.
yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the justification of all South. It's like, yeah, we agree with you, but we got farms. Is
Yeah.
essentially.
It's like then I would be poor, and I don't want to be poor. I don't care if I die and the people behind me are
Right.
poor.
Literally on the backs of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So which is sad. And, well, I mean, it makes me almost think of because you know when I was looking up Belle, like it was, you know, she was a you know, very influential when it comes to like I guess feminist thoughts,
Sure.
but not great when it came to anti-racist thoughts, right? But you know, but based off of that, it also that reminds me of the other. Do you remember Frederick Douglass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the
yeah.
19th Amendment, they were like Frederick Douglass wanted, you know, or he was being approached by I can't remember who it was.
Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Oh yeah, okay. So, but he was approached as far as like, well, hey, do you want to also like let women vote too? And he's like, nope. He goes, this is like, this is the time for black men. Women will get
Yeah.
their time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, nope, we're doing me now. You know,
Sure.
so that's
Yeah.
kind of like that's what that made me think of.
Yeah, me too.
Can we go back to just real quick though? Her being able to read and write. Did they teach her how to read and write? And then she turned around and taught their
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
because she was coming from a very well-respected and established family.
Okay.
So
So
she
she
was
was
definitely
educated.
taught all these things.
Okay.
And then, yeah, she turned around. A lot of white women did this kind of stuff, but it was all like kept hush-hush kind of.
Sure.
So in 1861, that's the year the Civil War began.
Okay.
And she turned 17 years old that year. And, you know, to sum up the beginning of the Civil War in like one sentence, it was years of political fighting and entrenchment, and it was just tipped off when the election of a Republican president, Abraham Lincoln. They were like, they were just like, no, no.
That's it.
Like, that's it. Yeah. And so their view of Northerners were like, they are the savages. We're the refined ones.
Right.
Even though they were the agricultural ones, but they had more manners. They were more polite. They had more etiquette.
I say.
Yeah. I dress better. I look better.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when that year on July 4th, when the Yankees arrived, they were in a full panic because they thought that what was going to happen is that they were going to be all rounded up and killed and their crops burned. And
By the Yankees?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Because they knew the Yankees hated them because of all this political fighting leading up to the Civil War.
Right.
So that's what they were expecting to happen when the Union arrived. And they weren't wrong in a lot of ways.
Sure. Because we went down there, we burned a few cities along the way, right?
Yeah.
Basically just kind of, because they were seceding. They're like, we're good. We'll see you guys. And we're like, no. So we had to go down. And
I think like a lot of wars, like at the beginning, they thought, well, this will be short.
Well, right, yeah.
And then as the war went on and they just wanted it to be over, sometimes the atrocities get worse to end it.
Right.
And so like the more of like
cut off food, just,
so more of the
starvation,
burning and the
just
starvation
ran through
part
attrition.
was war of attrition was more towards the end when it was like really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because they still, like the British before them, were like, we can't do too many things because we want to be one country again.
Right.
But
they remembered, like, that's why the British lost us.
Yeah.
'Cause they were trying to be cool the whole time.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right.
So when they came into town, her father had joined the Stonewall Brigade.
Sounds like a good group of guys. Like, that's a good name.
Yeah, for
like,
Stonewall Jackson,
Yeah.
General Stonewall Jackson.
Sure.
So he had joined them. And he was from there. And then so it was at the house, it was like her and her mother and then all of her younger siblings.
Okay.
And so.
Was she the oldest?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So when they had a knock at their door, they didn't really want to open. They, I guess, were like, "Where's your search warrant?" or something. I don't know.
Sure.
But anyways, they weren't going to open it. But this private, Frederick Martin, or what she called the Great Big Dutchman,
Okay.
said,
Isn't it the Fourth Amendment where it's like, you don't have to house.
provide quarter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. He said, "Are you a rebel?" And she put her hands on her hips and she was like waving her finger.
So this was the Southern Army.
Yeah. No, this is the
door.
Union Army.
This is the Union Army coming
Yeah.
down. Okay.
Well, and her whole house was like decorated with
like all the flags of the South, like the CSA flag.
You're like,
Every one of them.
those are Union Jacks. All right. So.
Yeah. So she said, "No, I'm a secessionist. Like, I'm not rebellious. I'm in the right and you are in the wrong."
Sure.
And that was her opinion.
He's like, I just walked 600 miles. I'm arguing with a 17-year-old fucking kid about ethics of secession.
Well,
Like,
he should have kept it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he basically announced to her and her mother that their home is now the property of the U.S. government because they don't have the whole, Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to them since they're not American anymore. They're now, rebels that are from a different, country.
You guys don't even
basically.
have a constitution.
Yeah.
You can't just copy it.
Yeah.
And so he wanted the rebel flag destroyed and then the, U.S. flag raised over the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so her mother said, every member of this household will die before that flag gets raised over us. And then he was like, bet. And so he started attacking her.
I hope he said exactly.
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I
He
hope
said
he
bet.
is.
He said bet. No cap on God for real.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened. So he
They
started.
want the smoke.
So he started fighting with her, and then so Belle jumped in to get between her and him, and then she pulled out her Colt 1849 pocket pistol, which is popular with the ladies back then.
Sure.
And fired, and so he was mortally wounded. I don't.
More like dying Dutchman.
Yeah, yeah. Now he is dying. The other soldiers in the room said that they were going to kill her.
Probably should.
And then she opened her arms wide and said, "Only those who are cowards shoot women. So shoot, or now shoot."
She did the whole, like, whoever shoots me is gay.
And the thing is, I think that she was relying on Southern gentility with the whole, like, shoot, you know?
She was shot immediately.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, seriously, she just shot your colleague.
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
think like nowadays you just get your head canoed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, if someone said that today, they'd be like, okay, you know?
Yeah, just, I mean, okay.
She wanted to. She asked for it.
Yeah.
It's smart.
So
You wouldn't shoot a girl.
the officer in charge of this whole deal in Martinsburg at the time, his name was General Robert Patterson.
Okay.
Oh, the vampire?
Not
Yeah.
not Robert Pattinson. Robert Patterson.
He's out there just sparkling.
He asked.
Oh, that is, yeah. Okay. I'm like, where's he going with this?
Yeah.
Twilight.
Yeah, from
It's
Twilight.
Twilight.
Yeah.
All right.
He asked for their version.
Don't let Abraham Lincoln hear about him.
Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Okay. He asked for their version and then announced that she could do it again if any more such brutal fellows came around.
Oh.
I know, and I know what you're thinking. This is his opportunity,
He's
but
trying to.
no.
Hey, you just wanted to get some squish.
Yeah. He's like, I'll win her over. Watch this. He was Dutch. Oh.
The real reason why he probably did not do anything, again, this is at the very beginning of the war, is that Lincoln had ordered his generals to follow the appeasement policy, which is what the British had at the beginning too.
Sure.
Which would be like the first of how many thousands of appeasement policies that we've had. But it was only with the border states. And the reason is because he thought that it would be a morale booster for a teenage girl to be a martyr for the Confederate States. And then everybody...
That's kind of a good point.
Yeah. And everyone would be like, oh my gosh, they shot this like
Dude, they're throwing away
girl.
17-year-old tail. Like, savages.
Isolate that audio, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is back then. It's the South.
She was legal marriage age.
Yeah, like, you know how many cousins she had that were angry?
So, yeah, it really came down to that. He just didn't want that to turn into
That's a good.
big
I
negative
see
for him.
why he did it. I still think he was trying to fuck her. Like Adam said, I think.
Well,
It speaks to how hot she probably was.
yeah.
Like, if she had one eye and fucked up teeth, they'd be like, Avenger.
I did actually come across one thing that it says, I guess she had some tig old bitties.
That's
too.
the real, like, we can't throw. No, I don't want to cry over spilled milk.
Yeah, like I could just imagine the newspaper and if she was ugly, missing teeth,
Yeah.
you know, where you black out the
Yeah. Well, this is like, how hot is she? She can shoot a guy in front of her army, in front of his compatriots, and they're like, damn.
I do declare.
Yeah, like, there's a wild one.
Yeah.
She's a wild little
She's got a
filly.
tit pistol. Look out, guys.
Yeah, great boobs will get you far in life.
Yeah. I like a woman of that.
Caliber.
There it is.
All right.
Nice. Okay, so she decided that for this war period that she would make
All right.
this war era.
All right.
She was in her war era, and she decided that she was going to get educated about what's going on politically, what's going on locally, and then she also started making bandages and first aid kits, and then she would go up to the soldiers to help them, but it wasn't the Southern soldiers that she was helping. It was the Union soldiers, and the reason why is because she's trying to get information from them.
Okay.
So she would be like, "Why, I do declare, thank God you came down and, were so manly and saved us."
To the soldiers, like, they actually sound like that down here.
And so she would ask questions like, "I'm so glad you're here to keep us safe," or
How many of y'all are there?
Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
I think this chick's trying to fuck me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so, and I don't know if you're going to get into this
I have
in
a wound.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're going to get into this or not, Rene, but I like basically Stonewall Jackson started having like asking civilians to keep an eye out, like if and it's a very early, like nowadays in the military we call it like a salute report. It's an acronym. It's like size, activity, location. Does that make sense? And so like so she was having basically giving early versions of that and then reporting it back like they all were.
I mean, it's useful. Like the West Virginia hills have eyes.
Yes.
Ears.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So her questions would kind of start out as like, do you have a sweetheart, honey? And they would end like, I heard that McClellan is coming. Is he?
Yeah.
Pouring some of that Southern honey all over.
Yeah.
Everything.
Hell yeah.
Just,
What street did you grow up in? The name of your first pet? What's your mother's maiden name?
Exactly. It was exactly
I like
that.
to think there were like ugly girls not good at this at all. They're just like, hi, how you doing? It's like, get away from me, Southern wench.
Fucking hick.
No, he's like, just kiss it and make it better. Yes, he's coming. Okay.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so she would take any of that information that she gleaned and would write to the officers or like any of the generals in the Confederate States. And when one of her letters was discovered, she was arrested.
Keep in mind, this is back in the day before she started like refining her skills. But like she wasn't even trying to. I think she signed her fucking name.
Yeah, I was like, how about a cipher, lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, like it wasn't in code. I think it was. She didn't even try to like disguise her handwriting, and I'm pretty sure she wrote her name.
Like she was like, my name is Belle Boyd, 123 Fancy Street, Martinsburg, West Virginia.
She could have at least said not Belle Boyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not Belle Boyd.
Yeah. JKLOL. So.
Is this big boob Belle Boyd? She put little nipples on her beads.
Yeah, those are the only beads around here.
Yeah. She's just sucking information out of these guys. I don't know how she's doing it.
They should call her Del Doyd. Double D?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Anyway.
Okay, stop. Okay. Anyways, she was arrested, and when she was brought before the Union colonel, who was like the head guy at the
Was his last
time,
name Lingus?
sure,
Okay.
he told her that she was breaking the articles of war regarding espionage, and that it's a crime that's punishable by death. And she was like, "I don't care." Like a teenager would, you know, like
She must be so hot.
she's like, don't threaten
She's
me
just
with a
like-
good time kind of thing. And her family, her dad, one of his friends was this dude named Ward Hill Lamon, who was Lincoln's bodyguard,
Oh,
his personal
Okay.
bodyguard.
interesting.
So
Where was he at the night of that play?
Yeah, right. Just big boobs had him out back. Just, oh, hey, hello.
but being in the border states, if you're well connected, you know people on both sides of that border.
I mean, you had brothers fighting each other.
Yeah. Sorry, for listeners, the cat has chosen me to
Yes.
sit on
Yeah.
for this episode.
And she's looking at us with her judgy eyes. No. Okay, so when he helped this bodyguard of Lincoln's, like, as a family friend, did him a solid and got her off the charges with a warning.
Okay.
And so when they told her, you know, nothing's going to happen, she got up and swished her skirts and said, "Thank you, gentlemen of the jury. I'll see myself out." So she's a little, you know,
Sassafras.
sassafras,
all right.
exactly. And so here's
Wait,
where,
I'm sorry. Why did they let her go? Did I miss that?
Because she knew a guy that knew a guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
So Lincoln's bodyguard is her dad's friend, and he like was able to get her off on a warning basically because it's just like, oh, it's just a teenage girl, you know, she's just sassy, you know how women are.
Just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you just tell her not to do it again, it'll stop, and then we won't worry.
She had a case of the hysterias.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So her cousin was a spy for General Stonewall Jackson.
Okay.
And he recommended her to Jackson because not only is she good at like schmoozing with the men,
Right.
but she was a good horsewoman and hunter, and she was very familiar with the Blue Ridge Mountains. So she's able to probably pass the information along because she's skilled enough with the horse, and also she knows like the mountains like at the back of her hand.
So was this like a really common thing for able-bodied women of that time?
Not even able-bodied, but do you remember when we talked about the Underground Railroad?
Yes.
And do you remember she was a spy? You know, she would sit there and like kind of play the opposite. Like she would play the opposite. She would, she would, act like she was just a disheveled little old lady. You know, just doing a couple chores around the house, like listening in, and then bringing.
Well, I guess that's what I mean. Like of like all teenage to early 20s girls,
but not,
was it been like do help where you can't? Were they actually actively doing this?
They were probably more working as like nurse type position.
Sure. Okay.
But like she was an active horsewoman, where the other ladies would probably be more fancy when they rode.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they weren't, the other women stayed closer to home, where she was usually like out and about, so she knows the territory. And then she was also planning on using her womanly wiles if she did get caught to be like, I did not know what I was doing.
Yeah, just twirl your hair.
Yeah.
Just I got lost on this horse again with all this behind the lines information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do declare.
So she was tasked to work directly under a cavalry commander. His name was Turner Ashby, to run dispatch between him,
Nice.
Jackson,
Got right under her.
Beauregard, and Jeb Stuart, who are like the top 3 guys.
All the
if you
names
know
on these
them.
are pretty southern, pretty good.
Yes.
Jeb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeb. So when she would pass through the Confederate lines, like they would say, "You say Stonewall, we say Jackson."
She's a fucking cheerleader.
Yes. And then
Rah rah sis boom bah.
so yeah, they would yell out Stonewall, and then she would say Jackson, and then they would be like, "Okay, come in, come past the line." In reverse, when she was crossing Union lines, she always, quote unquote, forgot her papers. Her dad said, here's a hack. You can carry a paper with a Mason symbol on it, and they'll let you pass because the
interesting.
Masons are on both sides of the border.
It's like what I do with my license plate, where I just make the sticker the year.
Just
Fine.
like connect it with your Sharpie.
So
And
what year is this? Like,
this is 1861 still.
This is still that same
Yeah.
year. Okay.
And then if that didn't work, then she would just act ditzy or
Girdle it up.
Yeah, girl it up. And then sometimes she would just dress like a man or a woman. She even had disguises for her dog,
It's like a little monocle and a curly mustache.
Well, I just imagine other guys like, Jesus, how much do you think that guy can bench?
The pecs on him.
Yeah. Like,
So
what's he got?
she became a part of the Confederate Underground Railroad.
Robert
Ooh.
Paul.
There's 2 railroads that are underground.
They take him the other way?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So what they were doing was moving weapons and information and anything they could, because like there was also blockades on like the coast side, so they
Sure.
weren't able to get those things from the ship site apparently. So when the Union was back in town,
It's like when Robert Smalls, remember that episode 107A?
oh yeah,
When
that's right.
he had to go through those blockades as well.
I immediately went to the Sandlot.
Oh, okay.
With Smalls. So, Robert Smalls, yeah.
So
So she was helping run trains. All right. She 18 yet? Can I make real jokes?
okay, so when the Union came back into town, Major John Pelham fell hard for her. And she found him very useful in obtaining information on her side.
I like her. She's a useful idiot.
Yeah, exactly. And
You go so he's from the north and he falls in love
Yeah.
with a woman in the south, and you think this is gonna go well? Does he have a wife and kids back home or something?
I don't know.
All right, sure. This
But
is like the guy in Vietnam being like, I think she's the one.
it truly was.
Yeah.
He really thought that like she was the best looking girl he's ever seen, and like everything she did and said was the best. And so he wanted
Rebel flag.
Yeah. So one night he was drinking whiskey, maybe a lot of whiskey.
Sure.
And according to the paper, he made a bloody ruckus in the streets, shouting and grabbing her, where like in her big
Going after it.
Pectorals.
Yeah,
pectorals.
yeah. Asking how much she can bench.
Yes, exactly. And so the ladies in town just thought, they saw him grabbing her, and then they're like, well, she's no longer a lady because
Putting hands upon her.
he was groping her chest
Yeah.
in public.
He's just getting a couple honks in, no bigs.
Wait, okay, so were they kissing or he was assaulting her?
He was assaulting her.
Okay, that's what for a
But
second
she was
there.
kind of going along with it for
Like,
the sake of
okay.
the Confederacy,
Sure.
So
Let him get past lines for the Confederates. Okay.
It worked because when she's crossing the Union lines, she will say, "My name's Belle Boyd," because and I'm with this General Pelham, your top guy. He and I are like,
It's just name dropping.
Yeah.
name dropping. So when she was crossing the line, they weren't going to let her pass, and regardless of what she was doing. And so they took her to General Adam Dix, or John Adams Dix.
John Adams Dix?
Yes.
All right, that's his real John Adams Dix?
Yes, that's his real name.
What happened with this guy?
So he, asked her if she was a spy, and she denied it, and they couldn't, do a,
Pat down?
pat down because she was a woman, and I guess they didn't have some female general in there to pat her down. So she.
What a polite rule.
It
I
is.
guess.
I know. I think she definitely has relied on the fact that men are going to be gentlemen because she's only been around gentlemen. Because if these people were like.
And at this point in the war, was it like.
Those boob-grabbing New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, like, obviously you said the end of the Civil War, it gets like, God damn, we got to end this fucking thing.
Yeah.
So is this still in the part of like, hey, we're kind of still being nice?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so British, we're trying to bring these people back so we can be countrymen again.
And also because like people of that higher caliber, their reputation is everything. So like if they said, oh, well, he took her dress off and all this stuff, his reputation.
Well, Bill got
gone.
shot, but at least you didn't touch her boob.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
And so she did actually have the dispatches in her corset, but since he wasn't going to inspect her corset, she got through.
Just getting soaked with boob sweat.
I was just thinking that. I'm like,
Boob sweated.
do you think
it's like running?
Do you think it ran? You're like, fuck. You know, like, I wonder if that was an issue.
No, she just lifts a tit up. It's like silly putty.
Oh, just read it backwards?
Yeah.
Be like,
Read in the mirror.
Actually, this is page 2. Like, and there's a map on the back.
I don't know if you actually looked up a picture of Belle Boyd, but like, I don't know, listeners here, just stop and Google. But that chick has a beak too, because so she could have like hit it up a nostril or something.
I'm forming a picture of her in my mind,
I
and
should look it up. I just gonna show Jake.
She's spry at this point. Holy smokes!
There you go, listeners.
Yeah.
Stop and Google so you get Jake's same reaction.
Like seriously, that's she helped her horse not hit a tree with that thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, she could smoke in the rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
She could slow her horse down by looking to the right.
It's a sail. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
so now she's been arrested a second time. So her mom doesn't want her in Martinsburg anymore because, like, now she's sort of a target. Like, everyone knows that, she's
can't disguise
suspicious.
that nose.
Yeah. So
For what it's worth, I mean, what do you do with that situation where it's like 18-year-old daughter?
Yeah.
What do you do? She's a firecracker. She's out there kind of helping because her mom loves rebel shit too.
Yeah, but helping and going to probably die doing it.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So her aunt owned like a restaurant / boarding house, like a B&B type thing.
Brothel.
Yeah. Okay. It's called the Fishback Hotel in
Brothel.
Hell yeah.
in Front Royal, which is in. So she moved there.
Front Royal Fishback sounds like a sex move.
I know it really does.
You got to
doesn't
enter
it?
the back alley.
Yeah.
So here's like this really weird custom that they had back then. Like if a guy liked you, he would give you a button, like his button from like.
And if a girl likes you, she'll give you her butt. And
There you go.
right.
So she had her little purse, and her little purse was full of buttons.
Oh,
Look at this whore just
know.
shaking them out. Like, what loser gave you that tiny button? You can't even feel that one.
So
it's cold out.
Yeah.
she was growing a collection while she was in Front Royal, and so one of the generals commented that she had a lot of buttons without being beautiful, because he didn't think that she.
Honestly,
I mean, you saw the picture, man.
well, I'm sitting here like, what is that like? How'd she get all those buttons?
He's
You know what I'm
calling her-
saying?
Well, yeah.
Like
No, it's a button face instead of butterface.
yeah,
Yeah.
like she earned them.
and he called her an accomplished prostitute.
Yeah, that's
because
what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she just has a lot,
It's a button factory.
It's like, are they reproducing in there?
She's out there finishing slacks.
Yeah, she was just doing, honest work
Okay.
in there. Oh.
Lindsay's getting a bunch of buttons. Later. I'm gonna be like, you don't get it because you don't listen. This is funny to me.
A pocket full of buttons.
Yeah.
Okay, so she formed a serious crush on Stonewall Jackson. So she's willing to do anything with any guy.
I will say, probably one of the best names that's ever been thought of.
I know, right?
Stonewall Jackson.
I mean, you just have to stand there and not move while getting shot at, and you can have that nickname too.
Hey, he
I
did it too.
I wouldn't have that nickname. I'd be fleeing Jackson. So she wanted Stonewall.
Yes.
All right.
And she thought that if she's like a really good spy and like wins the war, that, he'll be like, my dear, I must marry you.
Not with all those fucking buttons. He's gonna be.
Well, she'll bury the buttons before that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
A lot of women don't like to talk about their buttonness past.
So at this fishback place, she had spent more than 4 hours unaccompanied
Okay.
in a room with a Captain Daniel Kelly. And so they were like, oh my gosh, she's probably, making it with Daniel Kelly.
Buttoning it up. Yeah.
So
This is a guy from the north?
yes,
Okay.
he's also another Union officer, and he began writing her poems and love letters. And then he
That's
was
why
like,
4 hours it took.
and he was like,
What
XO,
rhymes with button?
big X, little X, big O,
Mutton.
big O, little O, all of that.
Actually, like you ever look up like Civil War letters? I always think they're interesting because it's like I think we think of them as dumb back then,
Yeah.
but like they're
eloquent.
Yeah, and I just think it's like because that's the only thing they're gonna see of you, so you have to put every bit of yourself on there and send it off.
Yeah.
And then nowadays, like our texts are like
So-
not even spelling the whole word,
Yeah.
like just want to fuck, just FCK.
Yeah.
And this is how bad. Okay, so she called him Captain K. This is how bad he was in. Okay, she claimed that she pulled the stars and bars from her bodice and wrapped it around his head, and he was just like, "Okay,
Yep.
like I will become a Southerner if that's what it takes."
I don't understand her stars and bars.
The Confederate flag.
The Confederate flag. Yeah.
He was a
Okay.
Union soldier,
Oh.
and she was turning again.
Yeah, she was turning a Union soldier into a Confederate one,
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll
and he didn't even bat an eye at that. So
once again doesn't ride side saddle. Can't emphasize it enough.
a bag of buttons,
Yeah.
like
You said Calamity Jane
yeah.
or Janity Clam.
Yeah. Like, we're just turning coats down there. So.
Yeah.
So from information from him, she got the time and location of the Union Council of War that was going to be taking place at the Fishback. And so what she did is like, how they used to have like knots in the wood, like she put her ear to it and listened in to like their official meeting that they were having. And she heard them discuss that General McClellan was going to capture Jackson.
Why wouldn't you just lie to the prostitute? That's what I don't get
I don't know.
about this. Just make something up. Be like, we're going to be at the edge. That clearing where the creek hits that road? We're all getting there later. Now do the thing.
You'd think like
So-
you'd think with like some like post nut clarity.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I'm not telling you shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she got pre-nut, so then she got everything.
Yeah.
So she gave it to Eliza, who we were talking about earlier,
Sure.
her slave, and then she ran to her brother, gave him the note so that they could forward it to Jackson to say, hey, McClellan is after you.
Yeah.
Better watch out.
I got this information and a bunch of jizz out of this guy.
It's like you
Torture me.
wouldn't know how hard it was. Okay.
Yeah.
The pinnacle of her spy career was in May of 1862 when she was asked to travel to Winchester, Virginia to retrieve 2 packages.
Okay.
She needed to pass to travel, so she sent flowers to this other Union officer.
Flowers. All right.
Yeah. And not only did he grant her a pass, but he ordered a carriage for them to travel. So she's riding in a Union carriage
Just
to cross the
Officer
Union
Dandy.
lines. Yeah. So then she put one package under Eliza's skirt. Why? Because they didn't search slaves.
Okay.
And then the other one she put in like a package out in the open, because sometimes like putting things out in the open makes
Yeah.
it less suspicious.
Best place to hide is in the open.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the package there was like a little card, and it said kindness of Lieutenant Housebrook or whatever. That's the Union guy.
Okay.
So they'll think, oh, she's in a Union carriage. She has a package from a Union officer. They're
That's-
not going to
yeah.
do anything with the slave girl. So it's kind of like, an easy win, basically.
Sure.
But she still had more letters stashed in her bodice.
Okay.
So she's still running those dispatches and now these 2 packages. And
Do we find out what's in the packages in a little bit, or is it just this is just a big move for her to pull this off?
well, the things that were in the packages were like information basically to send back, but they weren't actually from him. She just wrote that it was.
Okay.
And like one of the Confederate officers asked her to pick up the packages.
Okay.
So she got it from somebody in the South. She may not know exactly what's in it, but she knows that she shouldn't be doing it
Sure.
if she doesn't want to get in trouble. And so she put all of the dispatch letters in her bodice inside of a book, so that if they did want to look in her bodice, she would pull out the book and be like, you want to read the Bible?
I was gonna say it's a
You know?
Bible.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Pretty crafty.
Just hit him with like salvations within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what she was doing is she was manipulating people, going, "Oh," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the type of person that would search a girl, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, a young Christian woman. Why would you?
Yeah.
Those letters were delivered the same day, and whatever was in the packages and the letters were instrumental to Jackson's Valley campaign, having them win the subsequent battles from whatever that was.
Okay. So this was a big win for her.
It is.
Like,
it is.
ingratiating herself with Stonewall.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he knows where it's coming from. He knows how it got there, so that makes her all the more happy
Why does
about
it smell
it.
like Eliza?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me though is that like when you think about like tiny little turning points in influential people, like this young girl, she was a massive turning point for Stonewall Jackson.
Sure.
One thing that Rene talked about a couple years ago was Casimir Pulaski.
Right.
And I think about the time when Casimir Pulaski saw like George Washington getting flanked.
Right.
Like if George Washington would have fell, and he definitely probably would have fallen, right?
Yeah.
Or at least gotten captured there, the Revolutionary War would have been probably done. You know,
Right.
so it's like just Casimir Pulaski seeing that and be like, hey, wait a second. You need to tell him that he's getting flanked and he's about
Sure.
to, So it's like, or you think about this like pivotal moment, like this young girl, like with her craftiness,
Right.
Helping Stonewall Jackson.
Well, this is kind of like when they sent the Hope Diamond through the U.S. mail,
Yeah.
essentially, because it's like better chance of this getting through than a group of like 6 soldiers trying to sneak through the woods and getting busted. They're going to search every nook and cranny of their buttholes, looking for all the information.
Of course. I mean,
but
you could,
indecency. Oh no!
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, if you make something look important, it's good. I mean, you could walk around with your with a sandwich in a silver briefcase chained to your, handcuffed to your wrist, and you're probably going to get your wrist cut off. You know what I mean?
Best sandwich ever, though.
Yeah.
Like,
So anyway.
Okay, so obviously the brass was like, how did that information get out? And so they investigate, and they're like, yo, why did you order a carriage for this chick? And the guy was like, oh,
trying to fuck her.
Well, yeah, that's what he wanted, but he was
Yeah.
trying to like church it up or whatever, but they didn't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they arrested him, and he was due to be hanged,
Ooh.
but he ended up being discharged because he comes from a wealthy family.
Nice.
Yeah. But again,
And that's the last time anyone rich has gotten off with anything.
Here's the other thing: is like, yeah, exactly. Good thing we stopped it there. That was really. But I'm guessing he was also in this position because he was rich in the first place.
Yeah.
So he was not there because of his mental ability to sniff out a honeypot. Like,
yeah, for sure.
all right.
But again, then of course her name comes up. She was the one that he ordered the carriage for. So again, her name is being brought up.
Okay.
There's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
So the last of the letters, she actually hand delivered herself because when she got to that destination, a battle had already started between the North and the South. And so she was going to give the dispatches up, but he was too scared, the kid that was supposed to run it. So
Sure.
she's like, well, I'll go because I know I can, and I'm very familiar with the area.
Yeah.
So she did. And then
She's also not going to get shot as much as that other kid because they'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, it's big boobs, Bonnie, or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like,
Riding a horse, just getting black eyes.
yeah, it's like all the shooting stops. Just riding topless, like, hey, fellas.
Just like Lady Godiva.
Yeah.
Don't shoot on the messenger,
So she grabbed like a Union uniform jacket.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Put it on, starts taking the horse across the field. And when the Union was shooting at her, she was like, look, I'm wearing your shirt. And then when the Southern soldiers were shooting at her, it was boys that she grew up with. And she was like, look at my face.
Yeah.
It's me.
Look at that. Bonnie's nose. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Wind sail.
Yeah.
So anyways, she got like
Belle's nose. That's
she
what it
went
is.
through a battlefield when there was fire, like in the middle of, fire being drawn between both sides.
This chick is like a country song.
Yeah,
Like-
she is.
Well, I mean, this is her, she's peaking right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's her peak basically. But when she got there, she's like the Union army that's here, that they're small in numbers. Like there's a lot of shooting going on, but it's not, there aren't that many. So if you strike now hard and fast, you can easily take back the city. And that is exactly what they did. And then they were like, yeah, hey, there's only a handful of guys here, and got them out. Well, then as soon as they did, they left the city, and the Union moved right back in like within a day or two. So maybe leave some dudes behind for to at least keep guard of it
Yeah.
instead of having every man leave town. So if she would have got shot, I would have been pissed. I would have been like, dude, for what? But anyways, so Jackson wrote her a letter thanking her for her services rendered for her country. And then she was like, I think that means he wants to marry me. She read between the lines a little bit.
I mean, it's impressive that she got even that.
Yeah,
I think
it's true.
It's not that bad of a thought
Yeah.
that she's like, I'm in. This is what I wanted. I'm about to get the best dick. Like
she's just gonna make tons of little Jackson babies.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, General Lee ordered Jackson and his brigade to the Virginia Peninsula, like away from Martinsburg, and so she went back to just doing her, flirting with the Union officers as usual. There's always a new crowd coming in. And she still had her favorites, Captain K, who had been shot in the face, and he's real vulnerable. And then Major Dick Long. And she
I'm
said,
sorry. Dick Long?
Yes. And
Major Dick Long. Not a normal Dick Long, but a Major Dick Long.
I didn't even think about that.
I would never be promoted. I'm like, this is exactly where I need to be.
I was just gonna say, like, now Major Long, now you are up for promotion again, my friend. You're like, I would like to respectfully decline that.
Good. This is funny. It's either President Dick Long or
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. I'm not gonna be like a General Long Dick.
Yeah, that's just some run of the average mill long dick. I'm a Major Long Dick. Everyone's heard of it.
I mean, that implies that there's girth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not just
it
length,
does.
Yeah.
She said that he had a killer set of whiskers, and she was like gaga over him. So it wasn't just
Ladies
her.
like beards.
Yeah, they do. It's really weird. But anyways, so she had a line of Union officers who were willing to, engage, so to speak.
Sure.
And finally, an army surgeon was like noticing like all these guys all maybe had gonorrhea or something. I don't know. But he said, who have you been with? And they're all like her. And so
that's chemical warfare. That's biological warfare.
Yeah. So
She's got them burning in the trenches.
He wrote Edward Stanton, who is the Secretary of War, to inform him that she is possibly a spy because she's making the rounds among the men again.
Sure.
And so because of the suspicion, he hired Pinkerton to spy on her.
Pinkerton.
So how many? That's that was the like investigation agency.
Yeah.
That's a group. Okay.
Yeah.
The Pinkertons. So I believe were there 2 in the Pinkertons?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that
If
might
you
stink if you only get one.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. One.
She got it. I'm like, you can see the hamster like, we'll get it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear about the 2 in the Pinkertons.
Okay. So a month later, she looked out of her window to see one of the Pinkertons who she thought was kind of handsome. And she actually described him as looking like a young McClellan. So I guess she also had a crush on McClellan.
Okay. This is incredible she's not pregnant yet.
I know,
at this point.
right? So she rushed out to introduce herself to him, not knowing that he was there to spy on her. And he told her that he was paroled, because he was captured as a Southerner and like was in a Union prison. Now he's out of Union prison and he's just trying to get back to his home. And guess what? Her hometown's on the way. So why don't I come with you?
Yeah, convenient.
Yeah. And he said, hey, this family who is very prominent in the Confederate world wants to have us for dinner. And she was like, oh yeah, baby, let's go, And so
I don't think that's how she said it. How would she formally accept this request in the South?
I think she'd say, well, that just sounds like a lovely time. Would you like some gonorrhea on the way down?
Like, I need to sit by the window. I need a cool breeze constantly.
I need to air this little button collector out.
Yeah. You ever been in a car with a heater stuck on?
The seat?
Yeah. Damn, girl, you just can't get
Okay,
comfortable, can you?
I'm a real spitfire, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So he told her that he was leaving because he got his pass, and then she asked him to carry a letter for Jackson because she thinks he's a Confederate and that he's even spent time in the Union clink for the South. So she's like, can you take this letter to Jackson when you get to your destination, because that's where he said he was going.
She's trying to pass the correspondence along.
Sure.
And so that night she was like playing the piano at the fancy party, and she was arrested again.
How the music changed real like dramatic as he
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, the door kicks in. She's like, dun 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 dun. Dun. Do you just play your own outro music?
Yeah, I did. She's like, since we're being honest, I would love some kind of topical anesthesia. Like, this is terrible. No one sit on that piano bench. You're gonna be playing Bach.
Said scratch and sniff.
Okay, so she was taken to the old Capitol prison, and she was given the nicest cell, and all of the local folk lined up to make her meals.
Pretty privileged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Privileged.
She just sitting on a cell with like 6 guys behind her, sitting on the bench, like
Yeah,
on a couch.
watching her. Yeah. It was kind of like
I got it. I know.
Shirley Temple, the Littlest Rebel.
Hopefully not. Where Adam and I were going with that. But
Okay, so she decided that she was going to make her wedding dress while she was there to make good use of her time for when she marries Stonewall Jackson.
It's made out of.
she's got a level of crazy that's admirable. Like she's just like, I'm not in prison. I'm preparing for my wedding.
Yeah, she's
Just
like, I got the time now.
Made out of buttons.
Yeah.
No.
There's so many buttons on that dress.
Yeah, like it looks like a Tim Burton.
So she decided, to catch up on all these things, and she told the warden that she'll stay as long as he can afford to keep her, because where she was getting all the money to make all these things was from the warden. So
Wait, I don't understand. Like,
So when she was making her wedding dress,
Okay.
for the material and the supplies, was provided to her by the prison.
this isn't a very good prison.
I know.
Like, just like if I was warned, I'd be like, that's a weird threat.
We thought she was going to go to a pound me in the ass prison, but she went
Yeah.
to the White Collar.
Yeah, we'll get you some more soiled linens from the dead soldier closet.
Yeah.
Sure, like.
Yeah.
No, but it wasn't all great, because there was a guard who put a piece of cake out, and he was like, "Do you want it?" She was like, "Sure." And when she
Let me
put
see
her
that picture again. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
and when she put her hand out, he used the butt of his rifle to smash and break her fingers.
Oh, okay, never mind. Good. Okay, I thought.
Yeah, things are looking up a little bit.
Smash that nose.
Yeah.
And when he did that, she tried to reach for him with her other arm, but he pulled her back and told her to back up, and he used the bayonet part of it to slice off a chunk of her arm.
Okay.
And so she would use that for the rest of her life to say, "Look what they did to me."
Yikes, dude.
Well, maybe from the front it doesn't look as bad.
She looks like she's on a coin.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
like a
Greek-
Roman.
yeah, Roman or Greek.
She's got a very Greek Romanesque nose.
And yeah, so she
And
would
apparently
show that
she's
off.
going Greek quite a bit.
Yeah.
She also added that these are the kind of men that Lee whips. I guess the guys that don't like her.
The guys that stab her.
Yeah, the guys who aren't enraptured by her.
I'm glad that someone finally pushed back a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. So she would be released less than a year later, but when she arrived home, now West Virginia had become a state,
Okay.
and her father was really ill. Her mother had just had a baby. That baby died right away, and then her mom was sick from whatever reason that the baby died. And that's not anything that was recorded, so I couldn't tell you exactly what.
Okay.
So she was in Martinsburg, and then guess who coming into town?
Stonewall.
No, the
Oh.
Union Army once again,
all right.
because this place changed hands faster than that.
Her-
Places were
Her gonorrhea. I don't know. So,
her gonorrhea. Okay.
Yeah.
So she was arrested again by the Union, because they're like, "Wait, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be in some kind of prison?" So they took her to a prison called Carroll Prison on Stanton's orders, because he's like, "Yeah, how did she get out? He didn't approve it.
Okay, so how did she get out?
Someone must have let her out."
Oh,
But
she
who?
found a way out.
Yeah, she found a way out, but we don't know who. She became ill with typhoid. Belle has typhoid, from Oregon Trail.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
dysentery.
Oh, sorry.
You stroked out for a second there. I'm like, okay, sure.
So people interceded with Stanton. They're like, "Well, you have to let her go now, because she's really sick and she's probably going to die, and it's going to look bad on you if she dies in a prison from this." And he said, "No, she's a rebel. Let her die there. I don't care."
Okay, so we're getting a little more serious
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
war here.
Yeah.
A little less, oh, don't search her tits.
Yeah.
She's like, this worked before, just putting it gently under my boobs.
Yeah.
I know, but they're like, everyone's seen him now anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
What are you, 19?
Yeah.
So her father, who still
expired.
Yeah.
who still had a lot of good union connections, negotiated her release, although she would never see him again because he actually died in jail from his illness. But the release stipulated that she's banned from the South, so she can never go to Martinsburg again. She cannot go to West Virginia.
Should be shot on sight, actually, they said.
Okay.
So she's got to be a Northerner now.
Sure.
And then she was put under the supervision of Ben the Beast Butler.
Why was he called the Beast?
Because he was beastly. He was another Union officer that...
Like he's an asshole? Or he just looked...
He was brusque and...
Big guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, they actually had a lot in common because he...
Wait, the Beast got put with someone named Belle?
Whoa, I never even put that together either.
Whoa.
You're really like...
You're on it right now.
Yeah.
Walt was just a historian.
I know.
Yeah.
So they actually had a lot in common because he was also rebellious. He acted before he got orders. He refused to obey the Fugitive Slave Act.
He had a castle with roses.
Yeah, he created the Woman Order that if any woman unfriendly to Union officers should be treated as prostitutes, well, Belle doesn't have to worry because she treated the Union officers very friendly.
She's like, I got it.
Yeah. But I think that's why he got this duty watching hers, because they were kind of pissed off that he just does what he wants and he doesn't follow orders.
Sure. He's a beast.
And yeah, but they butted heads from the start, like a magnet, two of the same repel.
Wait, do they fall in love?
Do you want me to put
No,
all
get
kinds
there.
of
Get
okay.
Get there
So
organically.
he ordered her stuff to be searched, and he means everything.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
searched her flesh pockets.
It's like there's buttons in here.
She was upset because they soiled her underpinnings with their dirty Yankee hands.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll do that.
So she wanted to go to London to escape him and all this drama that she's experiencing in the North. So she said that she would take dispatches to be given to English officers from the South and $500 in gold and be given the name Mrs. Lewis and arranged a transport on a steamship.
She did all this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's still connected too.
Yeah, I guess that's my wonder is like, why isn't she just a normal lady that gets to sit on the sidelines for the rest of this?
Because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to be bored.
Sure.
And the thing is like being on the border, like people are crisscrossing that regularly.
Okay.
But so she was waiting to go because they have to wait for the blockades to get a chance to get through the blockade.
Sure.
And so the guy who was supposed to be taking her realized that they had been spotted by a Union ship and that they were going to be boarded. Mm-hmm. And so the guy who boarded it, he started throwing out all the cotton and the tobacco and everything that the South was trying to sell to Britain for money. Mm-hmm. And so she burned all of the dispatches and hid the money in her underpinnings.
Jesus.
Yeah.
She's got a satchel down there.
So, and they told her that she had to stay in her room where this Lieutenant Samuel Hardinge, another Union guy.
Dude, how many people got gonorrhea from dispatches back then? Just like.
But yeah, he told her that he's the captain now.
Yeah.
Yeah. She described.
It's like real Southern story. It's just gonorrhea with the wind.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. She described him as a Greek god. And when he came to her
tiny
room,
wiener.
Yeah. Well, it's because of their big brain. They were super smart. That's what that was.
He came to her room, but he didn't enter. But he propped his hands on the door frame, bowed, allowing his fringe of his hair to fall over his face, and asked for her consent to enter her room. And basically, she couldn't get in bed fast enough with this dude because
it's like
she was
vampires, right?
He is such a gentleman.
Wait, who's this guy again? This is
the
Samuel Hardinge.
Samuel Hardinge, who was the Union officer of this ship that boarded the ship that she was on.
What a hunk.
Yeah.
He's going to check her underpinnings.
He was also immediately smitten with her.
I don't get it.
And so they would look at the stars together in the ocean and quote Byron and Shakespeare and say all the beautiful things.
And scratch their crotch at the same time.
They were just sexting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before they even reached England, they were proposed to, to be engaged. In the meantime,
she's got moxie. The Southern
she does.
term, she's got it.
Well, I mean, remember earlier, I mean, not everyone like was smitten by her. That one guy said, "You're not pretty enough to have that many buttons."
Yeah.
You know.
Gay. Just like
So the captain, Henry, who was supposed to be the captain of the ship she was supposed to be on, they had him as a prisoner. And so she plied the officers with like alcohol and, good times. And then she was able to get him released without,
full release.
He just disappeared, basically,
Yeah.
Okay.
he got lost. We don't know what happened to him. But basically, he was able to escape is what happened. When they arrived, so she went overseas with him. Then she actually had to go back to Boston because the Union Army was trying to bring her up on some other charges.
Sure.
And so when she got there, she was taken to Tremont House where she was under federal guard. But because she was spending more money than they had allotted for her,
did she have a credit card?
Yes, she has a credit card.
I don't get how they the Army's got it.
Because
I fucked them all.
She's a lady, so they give.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all anti-women.
I don't get
time,
you're
I
under
guess.
arrest, and she's like, I've spent all your money. Like,
Yeah, she was spending a lot of money. So meanwhile, Samuel, who is the guy she's been engaged to, he was in Washington trying to get her released.
Okay.
And because she was, doing all that spending, they were glad to get rid of her. So they told her that she and her servants have to go to Canada, and if she enters the U.S., she'll be shot. So now she can't go in the north, she can't go in the south, she can't go anything U.S. Like, she's done. They put a rejection thing on her passport.
They seceded from her.
Yeah, they seceded from her.
Put her on a raft and push her to the east.
So because he got her free, and then he went back to England. She went to Canada, also went back to England, separate ships. When she got there, she found out that he was already looking for her, but he was dismissed from the Navy from this whole fiasco because they're like, what are you doing? This is not your job to go be searching after this chick who they don't even want. So he got dismissed. But they had like a lavish wedding anyways in England and like did it up proper. And so, so then she got him to go to Martinsburg to, get a job from Jefferson Davis because she still thinks that the South is going to win.
Sure. Okay.
And that she still thinks she's going to go back to the United States.
She's trying to negotiate her way back into it. So she's exiled, essentially. At this
she
point.
is exiled. I mean, like the Confederate States haven't exiled her, but they are not exactly winning either. But she doesn't know that. She thinks that they're going to win in the end. So she thinks that everything's like not lost. All hope is not lost. Everything's going to work. And Jefferson Davis didn't want him because he thought that he was a deserter.
Okay.
And I mean, even though he didn't desert them, he's like not befitting being a military officer.
Well, if you run off to look for a chick, you've deserted.
I mean, it's the exact same thing.
You come back like, oh, you guys won. I found Belle. Dale lost his leg. So
it's the same thing with Benedict Arnold.
long dick is no dick.
I was just gonna say.
Once he did what the English wanted him, they threw him away like trash because they're like, he can't be trusted. He's a turncoat.
Right.
You know? So it doesn't matter what, they don't think anything of him, and neither does Jefferson Davis. She actually wrote a letter to Lincoln telling him that she is going to write a book about her experiences and the atrocities of the U.S. government due to the cut on her hand or arm from that one guy.
Do you think that got through to President Lincoln after the Civil War? Like, this lady got her arm
He's like,
slightly.
Yeah, I need to free this lady like I need a hole in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she basically
pass it off to his wife. Like, there you go. You handle this one.
Yeah, and she thinks that he was threatened by this. And,
I wrote a letter.
And so
A strongly worded one.
Yeah. This is like, I left a comment. It's got like 30 likes. It's like,
yeah.
Demand their business be closed.
Yes, exactly. And I do think that that's exactly what she thought. So they sent Samuel back to England safe and sound, but she still wrote her little novel and like still kept in all the atrocities that she said that they did to her.
She's also like a known embellisher.
Yeah,
though.
way embellishing at this point.
Yeah.
Sure.
When he arrived in London, the Civil War's now over, but she's 7 months pregnant, and he's like kind of counting the fingers like,
wait a minute.
this doesn't add up, right?
Yeah.
But he, like I guess probably any gentleman back then, it's like to
Threw her in the water.
well, no, he's not going to let her go because then he would be embarrassed because she cheated on him. So they just try to keep that under
Yeah,
wraps.
so horse accident. That's the answer to that.
So not only was she pregnant, but she was getting kicked out of like different lodging houses for non-payment. So she spent all the money that he had. He had a lot of money, and now he has like no money, and she's pregnant with some guy's baby.
It sounds like the first Maury episode to me.
It's kind of funny because he is a union and she does not like the union. So it's like, in a way, it's like maybe she's
That baby's
punishing
collateral.
him. Yeah,
Like-
punishing him. So she was pawning her wedding gifts to do, like, that's how far down she was when he got
Right,
there.
name this kid Benjamin Button. So
Yes, exactly. So when he got back, things were not great. The honeymoon's over. You know, he's got a side piece. He's drunk every night, and she's spending what they don't have.
marriage, I know.
Yeah,
They
so it
are
was like
they are married.
She disciplined him with marriage, basically. So
Yes, she did.
she also decided that she looks real good, so she should be an actress.
Maury episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she did attain like acting in a major performance. Her role was small, but she was like, "I'm the best." You know, they can't run this theater without me.
I mean, she has a lot of hubris. You know.
She does.
Did she at all ever act at the Ford Theater?
No.
Okay.
But when Andrew Jackson,
Okay.
he said that he was declaring clemency for all rebels because, like, they want the war to be over and they don't want to prosecute any more war crimes. It's like they get
Sure.
to a point where they're just like, whatever, like, let's just move on.
Right.
So that's what's happening. And then so she was thinking, well, since, you know, there's
Not you.
clemency, I'm just going to go back to my house.
Jackson still got gonorrhea. Not you.
And
All the
so,
male rebels.
yeah, exactly. So before she goes back to the United States, she takes a different Yankee soldier that was in England, and makes him her man. And she marries him a month later.
Nice.
Yeah. So now she's married to some different dude.
Is she just trying to get back in? Is that the plan here?
No, she just has no brains when it comes to men either.
Okay. Sounds like men have no brains around
Yeah,
her.
so it's like they double dipped on the no brains.
Sure.
And so she went back to the United States. Their first child was born in an insane asylum in Stockton, California, because she was a little psycho, and so they put her in an institution. And then when she was declared sane again,
Sure.
they let her out, and she had 2 more kids with him. I know. It's
Marriage.
Yeah.
Like you said it. I know.
So she had a hard time finding work because, like, at this time is like in the Wild West, you know, and there's like all these like West shows, like Calamity Jane,
Yeah, that's
for
what I was thinking
instance,
of.
or
Yeah,
something
okay,
like
sure.
that.
Wild Bill.
Yeah, or Wild Bill Hickok.
Okay.
Whatever. So they were doing these shows, and so she was going to take her Civil War experiences of being a spy.
I can say
and,
she
like,
rides and everything.
Yeah, so she was trying to make her own show to become profitable because she's going to use her experience, and plus acting, you know, equals perfect.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, wait a second, you're not really Belle Boyd because Belle Boyd is dead. And you're thinking, why did they think that? And it's because they kept getting her confused with the outlaw Belle Starr.
Okay.
A Belle's a Belle. So Belle Starr was like a female outlaw at the time, like the robbing the banks, robbing the trains, the trains, the coaches, you know, all that kind of stuff. So then, you know, people are like, Belle what? It's like a Belle's a Belle, right? You see one, you see them all. So they think that she's just lying and that she's a scammer. So no one's going to go to her shows. So she's
like,
not,
look at my arm.
yeah. So she's not turning a profit at this point.
Sure.
And she's just getting in more debt and more debt as the day goes on. And so
Harder to make than it is to spend it, eh, Belle?
Yeah.
here's where it gets kind of freaky. When she was 40, she discovered that her daughter's boyfriend had deflowered her, the daughter.
Okay.
And so she shot and wounded him for ruining her daughter. And then
Hypocrite.
she
I know.
disowned her daughter.
For real.
Yeah.
All right.
But then, in the same month, she found out that her husband was actually married to somebody else.
This happens, marriage.
Yeah.
You can just go to a different town back then, just have another bad decision.
Yeah, they didn't have Google yet.
Yeah. So she tried to divorce him, but she couldn't because, like, he's the one that's supposed to initiate the divorce. So then when he finally divorced her, and when it was over, she remarried him again.
Oh, she's one of those?
Yeah.
All right.
But that did not make things better because they ended up divorcing again.
So, crazy's hot when you're young.
I know. It gets less hot as you get
now
older.
Now it's like just,
I don't know.
It's been done.
I mean, whoever says don't stick your dick in crazy has never fucked crazy. Though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So then she got married right away again to a guy who was 24 years old, and he was an actor.
Remember, she's in her 40s.
There you go.
She's in her 40s.
So
honestly, good for her. I'm
like,
fine with it.
I'm just picturing like because obviously it has to go back to like the ads or at the time, right?
Yeah.
So like just like there's a what's the Morse code? Just he's like dee, 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 dee. He's like hot MILFs in my area.
Oh yeah.
Wanna
fuck tonight?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
What's that, Morse?
Cougars, no scene.
Me behind the blacksmith shop.
Oh, Smith. Okay.
Okay.
Major long dick.
This marriage would only last a few months, as one could imagine.
Yeah, man. Like, she sounds crazy as.
I think that he probably thought that she had money, and then when he found out she didn't, he was like, bounce.
Oops.
Yeah.
So
wait, just a bunch of kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, Daddy.
Yeah.
Oh, and you shot one because you wouldn't let her have her own war period? All right.
So at this point, she's destitute. No men are attracted to her any longer. Not even desperate men are attracted by her. So she went on to say, I have lied. I have sworn and killed. I guess I have stolen. But thank God I can say on my deathbed that I am a virtuous woman.
And a liar.
Yes. Fortune has played a bad trick on me by letting me live on and on. Because like since she has no money, she just wants to die now because it's like...
Yeah, she's old and itchy.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it is. It's wool in the late 1800s with gonorrhea mixed.
And all she does is like these ladies readings where she goes and like kind of like they would read and then the other ladies would listen.
Reading like...
Yeah.
Like palm reading?
Yeah. No, like books. Like it was really popular back then and like in women's groups.
Audiobooks.
Yeah. Audiobooks. Exactly. That is a really good way to describe it.
Because a lot of probably couldn't read well enough. So
you probably just want to sit back
you.
and drink lemonade and like.
Yeah.
And the reader would be, like reading it in a way that is like makes it exciting.
Honestly,
yes.
I could see that working today if you had like at a bar or something like that.
Yeah. Like poetry night or something.
They have readings.
Well,
they do. Like it's like the vagina dialogues.
Yeah, I don't go to
monologues.
Yeah,
monologues, whatever.
Yeah,
but they,
it's not a back and forth between your pussy. You know what I mean?
Although I'd watch that. Look at this ventriloquist. She's incredible. Why don't you come down and see me sometime?
So
we're gonna like my feet.
I don't want any lip from you.
Oh my gosh.
Healthy looking group here.
Sorry, I sat up too quickly.
There's something in my throat. Coughing up blood.
I was like, please don't say that.
Oh, sorry. This is a real period piece.
Can't handle it.
Was that a thong?
Oh gosh. Okay. Anyways, she's doing ladies' readings for a living.
Okay.
And on June 11th, 1900, she was doing such a reading in Kilbourne, Wisconsin.
Hey, all right.
Where
Kilbourne, I never heard of it.
It's in the Dells area now. It's not there anymore, but it's the Dells or Lake Delton. So after the reading, she went home and had herself a little heart attack and died.
Oh.
So I guess her dreams came true. And then the ladies who she read to, they felt so bad because they're like, oh, this lady looked like she was on hard times and now she's plop dead. So they collected money and buried her. And
like even to get her dressed and everything like
Yeah.
that. They gathered like they got together and like she was so destitute at the end of her life that they were like, well, she should probably have something nice to wear, you know what I mean, and a funeral and stuff like that versus like, just throw in the trash.
I think she's the result of her decisions. You know what I mean? It sounds like there was more than enough dudes that were willing to like try to build a life, and she just was like
kept getting KU'd by other guys.
Just like, listen, I'm a spy. Like,
I think that's the thing. I think that she was always looking for something fresh and new, and that's why those dudes didn't last long, is because like a new, better dude is going to come down the pipe. But
come in her pipe.
Yeah.
So there were 4 Union vets that were her pallbearers. Oh. Which, for a Confederate woman, she's not doing too good, because every man in her life is Union, Yankee. Yeah. But so she's buried in the Dells. You can still
she'd roll over in
her.
a grave with that giant rudder of a nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so she's in the Dells, her grave's there?
Right now.
Yes,
we should
right
test
now.
the flowers for gonorrhea.
Oh, just growing
above it. Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting because she married 2 Yankees, and then she was buried deep in Yankee territory.
That's what I mean. Like, she came to Wisconsin to die.
I mean, and not on purpose.
Is the rest of her family still?
They didn't associate with her anymore at this point.
I should also mention too that I read that initially that they didn't even have a marker for her grave for a while.
Sure.
Because they didn't want some sort of anything, to come. But they ended up I think the locals ended up chipping in and then creating a gravestone for her eventually. So, yeah.
So I guess being a Confederate rebel does not pay in the end.
Sure.
But she put her money on the wrong horse, basically.
But I will say.
But she rode the right horses, so I don't know. It still does.
I do want to say though, because what I came across, because remember her slave Eliza.
Yeah.
Obviously, when the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments came up, right? Yeah. Then Eliza became a free woman. But there, you think of the Belle was born, in a good spot in life.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, she had Eliza, her enslaved person, right?
Yeah.
But then it's just crazy how at the end it kind of flipped, because Eliza ended up having a pretty decent life for herself at the end. Right?
That's good.
So I don't know. It's kind of. I think it's kind of it's weird. It's kind of neat. It's nice.
The universe balanced it out.
Well, yeah. The way she threw herself into situations that should have had worse outcomes for a long time. And
I do want to say too, her and Eliza, they remained, I guess, about as close as they could. They did had correspondence back and forth.
Sure.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if any of those letters remained, but they were known to have existed. So yeah.
So that's
Belle Boyd.
Yeah, thanks for buttoning that one up.
Yeah. Well, this has been episode 137A. So I think.
Yeah, thank you for doing all that research. It was an interesting story.
Yeah.
An interesting ending to it, too, where it's kind of it felt right. She got her comeuppance.
Well, yeah. And what's interesting, too, is for a Confederate lady, like you said, she got a lot of Northern dick. You know what I mean?
She really did. And she had to do it. No, I think that she was a bit narcissistic, and it didn't pay in the end.
Hubris.
Yeah.
But
plot armor.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, so thank you very much for listening. And oh man, I'm Adam Gonorrhea with the Wind Riley.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm Rene. Vagina dialogues.
There you go. I'm Jake Small Dick Bussy. So
major small
penis. Major small penis. Yeah, thanks.
All right, later, boners.
I heard that in a while. Yep.